All right. What's going on, Bucs fans and NFL fans in general? This is JT again, back with the 7th Buckball podcast. Now, this podcast isn't going to be focused on the Bucs. It's going to be a second round, or my second mock draft, I should say. Really fun exercise to do. It takes a long time once you actually start getting into it and thinking about it. And especially when you get down to the 20s, it's really, really hard to start plugging players in and figuring out where they're going to go. So, if you guys want to take the time to listen and give me some feedback and let me know what you think, I went a little bit crazy this time, but I didn't go too crazy with the first overall pick, and I still have the Cleveland Browns selecting Myles Garrett. Now, the reason why I did that is because there's no rush for quarterback. Plus, you're picking twice, and maybe they make the right pick, even though some say he's a bust. The most prominent draft gurus believe he's the most surefire talent, a franchise, foundational player they need to build around. Now, there's nothing come out saying that it's going to be a different pick, or I've heard some things saying they're choosing between Mitch Trubisky or Myles Garrett. I don't buy it. This is April 14th, April 13th. This is lying season. Everything you hear is almost smoke and mirrors. So that brings me to my next pick, San Francisco, and I have them taking Mitch Trubisky. Now, I just don't see Kyle Shanahan going into the season with no quarterback. I don't care how many years John Lynch and Kyle got under contract, unless you plan on picking high again and hoping one of the other top quarterback prospects will be there, whether that's Sam Darnold or whoever. I just don't see it. I think they take a quarterback. They have 6 years. Give this quarterback 2 years. Put him with Kyle Shanahan. See how he does. And if it doesn't work out, draft another one. Now, the next pick, Chicago. I have them taking Mike Williams, the wide receiver from Clemson. Now, why would I do that? They have Kevin White. Now, if they did any film study on Mike Glennon, and I'm sure they did, or watched any of his highlights, they know he made some of his best plays whenever he could throw it up to Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson. I say they go wide receiver because they lost their top wideout in Alshon Jeffrey. And despite Kevin White having potential to be a number one wide receiver, he missed almost all of his career games since being drafted. Getting you new franchise quarterback weapons should be a main priority. And who knows, maybe Kevin White plays the whole year, and then you got him, Kevin White, Mike Williams, you got Marcus Wheaton in the slot. They got a good running game in Jordan Howard. Now, Jacksonville. I had them taking Dalvin Cook last time, but I'm going to say Dalvin Cook does a little bit of a free fall by what I'm seeing and hearing. I'm going to have them taking Leonard Fournette. Now, their defense was top 5 in total defense last year. That's not bad. And despite losing a safety, they added Barry Church. I believe the best pick is to take pressure off of Blake Bortles until he can fix his mechanics. At least not have him throwing 30 times a game trying to play catch-up, because that's when he puts up his best numbers. Now, Tennessee Titans. The Titans need a true number one wide receiver for Marcus Mariota, but they pick again at 18. So I think they bolster their defense with this pick and shore up a secondary need. They take Marshawn Lattimore. Logan Ryan isn't going to fix all the problems, but they could have 2 solid DBs, and they also pick one more time, like I said. So now the New York Jets was the hardest for me, because it's like, do you replace the aging Darrelle Revis, or are you in a complete rebuild mode and just go ahead and start adding talent? Now, their defensive line is solid. Their secondary could be addressed, but there's no need in adding a solid secondary if you're not going to be playing, I think they go offense. I think they go offense, and they're going to go O.J. Howard. Now, they have no true quarterback. Maybe Geno Smith's going to be throwing him the ball. But the defense has been selected heavy in almost all previous drafts. To me, they are in complete rebuild mode. And if that's the case, you don't take a quarterback unless you really, really think he's your guy. They need foundational players. They need elite offensive firepower to begin the rebuild. I say they go tight end because this guy can run routes like a wide receiver and block like a true tight end should do. Now, the LA Chargers. Previously, I had them taking a safety, but the more and more I thought about it, I'm going to have them taking Solomon Thomas, defensive end from Stanford. Wide receiver is a need with Keenan Allen always injured, but they have moved to a 4-3 defense. So maybe they add another defensive end to bolster the defense. They have 2 bookend defensive ends and Joey Bosa and Solomon Thomas off the edge, and that could be scary in that division. Now this is going to be a little bit of a stretch. Carolina Panthers taking Samaje Perine, running back from Oklahoma. Carolina could go in so many ways. They need a new and improved running game to get back to their roots. But they also lost Coney Ealy, and the secondary could use an upgrade. But I feel they draft defense well no matter what round they are in. And Samaje might be a stretch, but they've done their best when they've had Jonathan Stewart or whoever else running the ball and taking some pressure off Cam Newton. That's why I'm thinking they go Samaje Perine. Big body running back. He's built for this power scheme that they run, power zone run. But yeah, he came from an explosive offense in Oklahoma, and I like the fit. Now, Cincinnati. I have them picking Corey Davis, wide receiver from Western Michigan. They were a lost fumble away from winning their first playoff game in a while. And the next year, they lost 2 of their best wide receivers and Hugh Jackson. They need someone or anyone to throw to. Why not take a number 1 wide receiver while he's still on the board who led all NCAA in career yards? They lost a few pieces to their O-line also, but this is a weak lineman class. No need to stretch and take one. Let's see. We got Buffalo. Buffalo Bills are on the clock. This was a hard one too, but I think they need to shore up their offensive line a little bit. That's why I have them taking Ryan Ramczyk. Now, they lost Stephen Gilmore to the Patriots, and that has to hurt. But I'm a Tyrod Taylor fan, and they have enough offensive firepower to stay relevant. Add this guy into your blocking scheme and watch the offense grow. You might still have to draft a cornerback in later rounds, but I'm sure they will, and this pick just feels right. Now, the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to have them taking Teez Tabor, cornerback from Florida. Now, a slow 40 time doesn't change the tape. They need defense and more defense with a sprinkle of defense on top of that. And their secondary is so Swiss cheese in this offensive division, it makes cheese jealous that it can't be this cheesy. Now, they did lose Brandon Cooks to the Patriots, which, by the way, the rich get richer, but they love Michael Thomas. They can add a quality number 2 in later rounds or in the bottom of the first since they're picking at 32 again. Now, that brings us back to the Cleveland Browns picking at 12. I'm going to go ahead and say they pull the trigger on a quarterback here, Deshaun Watson. And who better to put him with than Hugh Jackson? With many picks in this draft and the next, they have 2 foundational pieces to work with. I like this pick, even though it probably won't happen. If I'm a Cleveland fan, I'm excited for the future, which the F word is something they have forgotten all about. Now, Arizona. I had them going all over the place. It was very, very hard, and finally I just came up with a decision. I'm going to have them taking one of the best safeties that's still on the board, and that's Jamal Adams. They still have a decent offense if Carson Palmer can come back to 2015 Carson Palmer. And the receivers can pick up where they left off even without Michael Floyd. But they lost Tony Jefferson. I think they take the best player available. Now, my other pick, I was thinking Jonathan Allen, considering Calais Campbell's gone too. But they got Robert Nkemdiche for a reason, and hopefully he delivers. Now we're on to Philadelphia. This is the pick that I hate because it made too much sense, and I just felt like I had to do it. Even though I didn't want to do it, I'm going to say Dalvin Cook has slid far enough. He's going to go to Philly. They need a running back. Dalvin's a do-it-all back, and I don't see how they could pass up on him at this point. I don't see any way that they can just go past one of the top 3 best running backs in the draft and help Carson Wentz out. They can go defense a little bit too, but like you said, with his best player available, you take him. Now, Indy, I'm going to have them going defense. Yes, they need O-line, but unless it's Cam Robinson, which I don't think it will be, take the best defensive end left in the mold of Dwight Freeney. They say Derek Barnett only has one move. What was Dwight's career made of? That special one spin move he used day in and day out to carve out a nice Hall of Fame career out of. They can afford to take a running back in round 2 or 3. Now, Baltimore. They were another team that I was struggling with, and I couldn't figure out where I was going to take them. But I ultimately decided to go with a need, and I'm going to have them taking Zach Cunningham, linebacker from Vanderbilt. Now, get Baltimore back to the bruising defense in the old days with the solid, some would say #1 outside linebacker in the draft. Now, I'm depressed to hear that Kenneth Dixon got in trouble for PED use, because I was a big fan of his when he came out of Louisiana Tech. But if Leonard Fournette wasn't gone already, I'd have taken him here. Now, Washington. Washington lost everyone in free agency, it seems like. Everybody. But I'm going to have them going defense. I'm going to have them taking Jonathan Allen. Still on the board. Why not take one of the best defensive ends in the draft? You locked up Kirk Cousins again, but you let 2 of his wide receivers go. Your top defensive tackle go, even though he went to our Bucs. I can't be mad at that. But although they're probably hoping Josh Dotson to hit the field soon, I go best player available here and put some pressure on this division with a premier defensive tackle, defensive end, and Jonathan Allen. Get some wide receiver help in round 2. Now, Tennessee, I like this pick. I like this pick right here. I have them taking Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster is a nasty, nasty middle linebacker. He was the quarterback of the Alabama defense for a few years. Why not get the quarterback of the defense for years to come for your defense, and you have the quarterback of the offense for years to come in Marcus Mariota? Now, they shore up some needs in the first round with 2 quality players. Now, I'm sure John Robinson isn't done wheeling and dealing either. Wide receiver help still to come, though. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Tampa Bay, number 19. I've done a lot of thinking about this. We still got Budda Baker on the board. We still got John Ross on the board. I just decided we're going to go with a weapon. And who better for a weapon than the guy who broke Barry Sanders' all-time yardage, Christian McCaffrey. Winston needs weapons, and he gets one with this do-it-all slot receiver / running back in my eyes. And Dirk Carter can use him in all types of ways. And the more and more I watch his tape, he can run between the tackles. I know people have said that he can't. That's not where he's best suited. I mean, I don't think he's a 30-touch-a-game guy. But you don't have to when you have Jacquizz Rodgers and Charles Sims. Now, where's Doug Martin in all this? I mean, well, this is a mock draft. It's all for fun, right? But I'm thinking the Bucs give him another shot. And still doesn't mean they won't draft his replacement. Now that takes us to Denver. This one's easy. Denver lost about as much as you could after a Super Bowl win. When it comes to the roster. You win a Super Bowl and pretty much everything gets gutted the next year. But, yeah, I'm going to have them going Cam Robinson. They need to get their O-line back to par, especially if they got Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch. Now, this next one, Detroit. I like this pick. And no, I'm not going to have them taking another tight end because that's what everyone thinks they're going to do, even though it seems like they take a tight end every year. I'm going to have them taking John Ross. Now, their defense is a priority, but this guy just fell into your big-armed quarterback's lap. Upgrade defense later. Your offense needs more than Golden Tate and an inconsistent Eric Ebron. Could you imagine Matthew Stafford just launching it every single game to John Ross? Okay, so Miami. They need to fix their O-line. They made it to the playoffs even though Tannehill got hurt, and they were pretty much made it in there with backups. But they need to fix their offensive line. I'm going to have them going Dan Feeney. Is it a sexy pick? No. But keeping Tannehill upright is a priority. No further comments on that one. New York Giants. They have so many needs. Not really an offense. They could use a running back, but considering all the best ones, the first round ones are gone, I'm going to go and have them taking Gerard Davis, linebacker from Florida. Now, linebacker is a need, and this guy is athletic as hell and can make an impact day one. Even though left tackle is a need, they might want to start using a bit more chip blocking because there isn't a left tackle worth a first-round pick anymore. Oakland Raiders. This one was interesting also. But I'm going to have them going my favorite safety / cornerback, Budda Baker from Washington. Yes, they need secondary help. And some consider Budda as a safety. But the film I watched, you put him anywhere in the outfield and let him use his instincts to make plays. Now, this is where I said that I got a little bit crazy. The Houston Texans. I want to say they draft one of these quarterbacks so bad, but O-line could be a smart choice. The Texans have a playoff defense. Do they make the safe pick? Or do they draft a quarterback because of the talented defense they don't want to wait until they find the guy on? So, that's why I said screw it. I'm going Pat Mahomes. Put him with Bill O'Brien, throwing to DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. No, he's not a first-round quarterback. But there's a reason he's flying up the boards. And what the hell? This is for fun, right? I'm sure they can find a solid replacement for A.J. Bouye in round 2 also. I mean, that was like their biggest loss. Now, Seattle. They're going to have to go offensive line. Why not take the best tackle guard in Garrett Bowles? Protect Russell Wilson. You're still in a Super Bowl window. Enough said. Now, Kansas City. They're still a playoff team despite losing Poe to the Falcons. But they need to replenish what's aging, and that's Derek Johnson. They can afford to make replacement picks at this time because they're still talented enough to take the division. That's why I have them taking Raekwon McMillan from... Sorry, thought I had to sneeze. That's why I have them taking Raekwon McMillan from Ohio State. Now, Dallas Cowboys. I previously had them taking O.J. Howard. And I'm still going to have them going almost in the same route. I'm going to have them picking David Njoku, tight end from Miami. If I'm a Dallas fan, I love the idea of having a big four of Njoku, Ezekiel, Prescott, and Dez. The secondary needs help, but a good offense can be a good defense as well, am I right? Now, Green Bay. I'm going to have them going to Karis McKinley. They do need DB help. They need running back help. They need pass rush help. But this guy can rush in a 3-4 and is athletic enough to cover. With no cornerbacks I see worthy or running backs left with a first-round grade, just go best player available. Now, Pittsburgh. This is the pick I love. I was kind of happy that it fell here. I couldn't really figure out where to peg him, but then I thought about it. Troy Polamalu. And who's more like Troy Polamalu, all over the field player, than Jabril Peppers? They need defense to get past conference championship, and Big Ben seems like he's ready to retire or getting injured every year. So why not take this guy? He's still sitting there on his phone. He's as close to Polamalu as he is. Safety, nickel, linebacker. Just let him make plays. Atlanta Falcons. This is where it gets hard because what needs do they have? They need to not blow a huge lead in the Super Bowl. It's about the only need they have. I'm going to say they go Forrest Lamp. Keep the offensive success going with Kyle Shanahan gone. You got defensive tackle help with Dontari Poe. You go edge in the second round, and you shore up a few needs, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, you pretty much dominated your way to the Super Bowl anyways. How many needs can you have? Now, the New Orleans Saints are picking twice because they traded Brandon Cooks away. So now they have the Patriots pick at 32. I'm going to say they go Curtis Samuel. Another gadget player for Drew Brees to replace Brandon Cooks. This guy is interesting because he looks instinctive as a runner too. Plus he's fast, so he can play wideout, slot, or running back. Alright guys, that's it for my second mock draft. It's a lot of work. I spent probably 3 or 4 hours on it just figuring out where I was going to go and best fits, team needs. The draft today is 13 days away. So pumped up. Can't wait. Now, when it comes to the Bucs picking, I've seen them all over the place. I've seen tight end. I've seen safety. I've seen defensive end. I've seen wide receiver. I've even seen running back. And to be honest with me, I think my top 5 players I would be happy with would be Dalvin Cook, Budda Baker, Derek Barnett. I want to say David Njoku. No, I'm just going to say top 4. That's the only ones I would really like. Now, getting David Njoku with Cameron Brate, a lot of people think that's going to take away from Brate's snaps. It probably will. It might. But, why not have Brate be our real good possession tight end and have Njoku being our extreme athletic mismatch? I mean, it could always work. Dirk could have figured out how to use him. And, I mean, once the touchdown starts getting scored, nobody's going to care. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's podcast. I'm out.